Hello, and welcome to the Resilient Leader Reset, Completing the Stress Cycle. This is the free seminar from Resilient Spark Coaching. Hi, I am Juliet Carnelia. I'm so glad that you're here. People leaders today absolutely have to be resilient to thrive in today's world. Burnout is completely real, and it's stealing our joy. It's also stealing our top talent from the leadership pool, and I'm not having it. We're talking today about the Resilient Leader Reset, specifically about completing the stress cycle, because we have got to be able to be present and focused and capable of handling the hard decisions that come through. And that means we need to be able to manage our own stress. So at the end of today's chat, you will understand the stress cycle. You will start making friends with your nervous system, and you'll build strategies to be gentle while you create resilient strength. There's no need to be mean to yourself just because you're in a stressful job. As I said before, I am Juliet Carnelia of Resilient Spark Coaching. In my 20-year corporate career, I developed leader coaches, managers, future leaders. I love helping people leaders find their authentic leadership voice and then use it for good. When we see good people step up to lead and support others, it inspires me. It's my favorite thing. My organization, a Fortune 100 organization, trained me beautifully in the art of coaching and in project management, corporate strategy, culture building, problem solving. But in all of that experience, there's training that I didn't get. And that's how to survive the quick moving, high stress environment that we live in without causing damage to my nervous system. I had a serious case of burnout a few years ago. It was ugly. I don't recommend it. I also had complex PTSD. So over the last 20 years, I have broken my right foot and or ankle 12 times. That's a full dozen. Yeah. I've also had 3 different car accidents where I was injured. This was a 1-star experience. Don't do it. In each one of these traumatic experiences, I responded by just pushing it down, ignoring it, and then bullying myself through to focus on work and supporting my family and my friends. I really kept telling myself, get tough or die, just get tough or die. It wasn't a healthy strategy. It wasn't an effective strategy. And it actually caused the stress spiral that damaged my health and started to damage my career. My work was impacted. I pride myself on being a caring leader, but I began to struggle to connect with my people because I was so exhausted all of the time. I had a hard time inspiring my people forward to their careers and to their performance because it started not seeming realistic to me that things were going to get better or that they could. When I realized that, I knew something had to change. This wasn't acceptable to me, not for my personal experience and not for the people that I serve that I love so much. So that's when I started a new adventure. I went out looking for other training and other answers. I got certified in breath therapy, where I learned to reconnect with my body in a safe way. And I found out that we can use our breath to move and process stuck emotions and help us process yucky traumas and even help us to let go of beliefs that no longer serve us. I was certified in both the SHIP method and in applied polyvagal theory, and that's where I learned about the nervous system and trauma recovery and the simple truth that everyone everywhere is on the hunt for safety. I got in touch with my intuition and I became a Reiki master. That's a Japanese energy healing technique. And for me, it was powerful because I recognized that we are all beautifully connected, but that doesn't mean it's my job to carry other people's stuff. I don't have to own their emotions, their issues, their situations in order to support and lead them. And that was critical for me. These were the things that ended up helping me to recover from complex PTSD and the burnout that frankly was crushing me. As I healed, I started seeing more clearly that other leaders were going through the same thing. I mean, not the broken foot thing. That's a unique Juliet situation that I haven't heard anyone else experiencing. But that part where personal and professional difficulties led to compassion fatigue and illness, and people choosing the off ramp on their own careers because that burnout was so powerful. And so I started Resilient Spark Coaching. I know that we can be compassionate, effective, present leaders with long careers once we build the regulation habits that we need. That's the experience that I want for my leaders, and those are the leaders that I want for my people. So let's get into this, shall we? There are big and pervasive myths around stress and leadership that we see and hear so often, we can start to believe that they're true. So the first myth is pushing through equals success. Y'all, that is just not true. And pushing through for me, because I leaned into that for a while, was actually pushing myself around. I don't think that there is any bully as bad as a heart-driven servant leader being mean to herself, right? But when we think about it, consider the actual physical experience of pushing something through. Imagine you are shoving a beautiful piece of art through a door that's just too small for it. Can you force it through? Maybe, but are you going to damage the piece? You absolutely are. If you're living in a way where you have to bully, force, and shame your way through everything, you're causing damage to yourself. And damaged leaders don't thrive. Neither do their teams. Effort really isn't the same thing. Our learning, our trying, our consistency, those things allow us to get stronger and be more successful. But success doesn't have to require you to damage yourself. Myth number 2, rest is for the weak. We have been taught to never get caught resting. There's this whole hustle culture. You have to be out there, you have to be grinding, you have to be improving your skills all the time. And it's just not healthy for us, truly. Confession, I used to lie about weekend plans because I was too ashamed to admit that I was too exhausted to do anything and that I needed to rest. As you'll be able to see in a minute when we get into the nuts and bolts of this, we are designed to thrive when we have rest, not when we restrict ourselves from it. I also want to call out too, I feel like this lie is more regularly focused towards women, which also makes me cranky. So there's another thing to know about Juliet. The third myth is that burnout is just part of leadership. There's this idea that I took the paycheck, and so I'm also taking on the risk that I might not get out of this alive, that this job and the stress from it could actually kill me. Y'all, it doesn't have to be that way. And that does not have to be your reality. Things can be hard and challenging without requiring us to lose our health to them. We are adaptable and we have the capacity for amazing resilience, but those are skills to be developed. It's not a magic gift that only a select few get. We can all be resilient. We just can't do it on accident. These here, friends, are the myths that we need to kick to the curb so that we can make space for the resilient, sustainable, healthy lives that we deserve. And that makes us the leaders that our people deserve of us. This is a little bit of a transition for us. And that's going to require a reconnection with our body because it houses all of the good stuff that helps us run. But first, I'm going to connect the dots for your brain really quick so that it's willing to try something new. So let's talk about the stress cycle. Our systems, our bodies, are designed to handle stress in a specific physical way. And so you see that here on the screen. The first thing is alarm. We notice that something is dangerous nearby. So let's pretend for this example, You're out for your morning walk with your dog, Fluffy, and you see a coyote in the neighborhood. Alarm, danger, right? Second, we transition into response. This is where we react to save our lives. It's really important. So for this scenario, let's say we pick up Fluffy and we yell and wave our arms at the coyote to scare it away, and then we skedaddle out of there and head home, right? So that's the exterior reaction that we can see happening for this reaction. But let's talk about what's happening on the inside in our bodies. So when we go into a reactive state as part of the stress cycle, all of our energy, effort, and focus is directed to defense. So what does that mean? First, our cardiovascular system pumps out more blood to support our major muscle groups, and our systems flood with adrenaline and cortisol, which is the stress hormone. So those things are giving us energy and giving us strength to be able to fight or to run away, right? Because so much effort is being spent outward into those major muscle groups, our gastrointestinal system takes a pause. So if you just had lunch, no digestion is going to happen in this general vicinity. Everything is going offline while you're in the period of reaction. This is also why some people, when they're in the midst of a great fight or flight reaction, might uncontrollably respond with nausea. They could throw up, or even diarrhea, which is super yucky. But those things can happen in the moment because your stomach has to come offline in order to survive. The third and last thing here is that our brains too are dedicated to survival. So that might mean heightened senses for being aware of what's happening around us physically to protect from, but that's not the time when we are able to dedicate any brain space to philosophizing, strategizing, complex problem handling, right? So that's the reaction experience for us. So then 3, rest. After we survive the big bad, we're designed for a period of rest and recovery. So during this time, this is when our blood reroutes from the major muscle groups to our other functions and supports the rest of our system and our organs. So digestion resumes, and so does brain function. Our blood pressure decreases, our short-term memory gets processed into long-term memory, and neural pathways are built that are the learning lessons from this experience. Rest is critical to complete the cycle. In the scenario that we were just talking about with Fluffy, it might be like this. We get home, Fluffy drinks some water, you give her a good pat, and in doing so, you're assuring yourself that she is safe and fine. And then you sit down for a few minutes on the back porch and you feel your system settle and calm. Your brain starts to process then, and you realize, hey, it's coyote mating season. I might need to alter the time of day that I take Fluffy for a walk for the next few weeks. Problem solved. You're grateful that you got out alive and no harm came to Fluffy. And you're grateful that you wore good walking shoes to help you be ready to run. And those might become your new favorite shoes. You start to consider, does Fluffy need a protective collar? That's something I'll think about. Because our systems have been able to rest and we recognize that we are now safe and secure, we are also able to evaluate, plan, and execute based on that knowledge that we've gained, because you know you and Fluffy are home safe. So that's how the stress cycle is supposed to work. Y'all, now we need to talk about how this is playing out in the business space, which is the corporate stress spiral. So right now, those 9 a.m. Monday morning strategy meetings might feel like you're running into a coyote. Our work environment is not a calm, steady place where nothing ever seems like a threat. We have constant changes in business and with our competition. I mean, there's reorganizations, there's layoffs, there's cost cutting, there's changes in business regulations, political climate, actual climate, we are inundated all day long with things that our nervous system identifies as a potential risk to our safety. And in the business world, with our focus on efficiency, we're also scheduling every single minute of the day. And so instead of a stress cycle, we're building a stress spiral. Alarm, response, alarm, response, alarm, response. And so remember when we talked about how that's where blood pressure increases and digestion is off and focusing on anything but survival is out? The longer that you're living in this state, the more everything gets confused and starts to be a trigger because you're conditioned really to expect constant threats. Friends, that's not just miserable, it's causing actual damage to our health. And because we've been in this spiral, when we do get a moment of finally getting a break, we might be in the space where we blank out in exhaustion and dissociate for a little bit, just staring at the wall. Or we might go on a dopamine hunt, which is what I really did a lot of. Hello, TikTok, my friend, show me something funny really quick so I don't have to focus on what's going on inside me. None of these things actually give ourselves the nervous system rest that we need, but it can distract us from a moment of the spiral that's happening in our space. Does any of this sound familiar? Does any of this feel familiar? Even as I was developing this material, I had a moment of like, oh, just thinking about it was making my gut churn because I've still got some memories of those stress spirals. I lived in this state for years. I mean, I survived it really more than living in it. So we have an opportunity to take control and to find rest habits that will work for us and help our nervous systems to recover. So let's get into that. First off, we need to have some high level awareness and understanding of what's happening with our nervous system. So look, our nervous system's job is to keep us alive. It doesn't care about our happiness. It can't be tasked with our happiness. Survival is the only thing that it does. So it goes into different states to support our survival. And all of these states have value because all of these things are situations where truly we might need survival support. Once we understand how our nervous system is reacting to those different stress cycles and the alarms that we're engaging in our business and careers, we can better understand how we might need to support ourselves in the rest phase. And so we want to take a look at that together today. So these are three main areas of where your nervous system might be. It's more complicated than this. We're simplifying it to support this conversation today. So I'm going to ask you to start over actually on the far right side, and that's when we are upregulated. We're in a fight or flight experience. So this is where we might have that sensation of the heart is racing, our muscles are tensing, some of that nausea, because all systems are focused on survival to that perspective. This is when we feel like we need to fight or run away. Let's experiment for a moment and see how you experience this, because this is a unique and personal experience. So I invite you now to close your eyes or lower your gaze and consider a situation where you felt unsafe, like you needed to fight or run. Just take a breath here. Now pay attention to what changed in your body. Is there a certain place that you feel a sensation in your body? How would you describe that? Okay, come on back. For me, when I'm in that fight or flight space, I can feel a little bit lightheaded. I feel that my gut gets tight and I sort of hunch in a little bit, kind of like I'm instinctively protecting my critical organs in preparation to take off and run. I wonder what yours is. In the middle, we have regulated. So, yay, this is where our nervous system has assessed we're safe, which means that we are allowed to think and engage and create and discuss from a place of alignment and regulation. As a people leader, this is usually where you want to be when you're coaching, making decisions, or strategizing, right? Now, if you consider being in that state safe and secure, let's practice that for a moment. So, again, I invite you just to close your eyes or lower your gaze, take a breath, and imagine the sensation of being completely safe, present, secure, connected. Note any changes that happen in your body. Are there sensations that tell you this is safety? We're secure. Okay, come back. That's pretty different from fight or flight, right? For me, I feel like my shoulders sort of settle down, and I also will kind of lean back in my chair a little bit because I don't feel like I need to pop out to run away. I feel settled and grounded. The last one on here is downregulated. This is when your nervous system is responding to a sense of not feeling safe by suggesting that maybe you freeze or play dead until the danger goes away. Think about how possums do this in the forest when they meet with a predator. They pretend like they're dead until the predator leaves, and then they get up and take off, right? Physically, you could experience this anywhere from fatigue or heaviness, or even feeling like you can't get yourself out of bed. I've also seen this a lot in the business world where there is an element of just agreeing and falling back, even though you might absolutely disagree with something that's going on in the office space. It's called fawning. But essentially, you are pulling back on your sense of power in order to get the heck out of there. So your nervous system pulls the lever to say, just say yes so that we can get out of here. This is not safe. So I want to do that same exercise one more time. So take a moment and think to when it was so unsafe that you froze or got exhausted. Take a moment, feel that sensation. Where does that land in your body? How would you describe the sensation? Okay, come back. What's really, really interesting is that everyone experiences these regulation or unregulation experiences in a different way, with different places in their body and different sensations. But once we start paying attention to it, we take some control over it. So it's not as overwhelming even when we get really, really out of regulation. It also gives us some great clues on ways that we can support ourselves. So let's talk about that. Our ability to complete the cycle and rest and recovery is so, so critically important to us. And there are a million different ways to go about getting yourself to that space. But when you're in the moment and you're like, what do I do? What do I do? I want you to remember this CBP: connection, breath, or physical activity. Any one of those three things are clear paths to finish a stress cycle. And generally, you can do them in under 5 minutes. So, first, let's talk about connection. You can phone a friend. You can have a stress cycle accountability buddy that you can reach out to and say, I just need 5 minutes. And in that time, when you get to engage with somebody who is in a regulated space, it helps reinforce for you that you have survived, you're in the safety spot, and your body can start to calm down and process. We are indeed social creatures. And so if that connection allows you to laugh or cry or get a hug, it's all good because it validates your sense of safety and it tells your nervous system to come offline, complete the cycle. Okay, let's talk about breath next. So excited. Breathing is a powerhouse in supporting your stress cycle. It's also beautifully accessible because everyone breathes, but it's also not very noticeable. So when I feel unregulated, I can take a couple of minutes at my desk or in line at my coffee shop or at my niece's volleyball game and just change my breathing pattern without anybody else noticing what's going on. And so, specifically for situations where you are in the work environment and you need to help regulate yourself, breath is an excellent lever to pull. Something to consider about this is that breath is energy, and many of us are shallow breathers. We can take control over our big emotions by taking control of our breath. So there's two quick ways to do it, although y'all, there's like hundreds of different breathing patterns if you get into it and geek out like I do. The first one is when you are upregulated. So when you're having anxiety, when you're in that fight or flight space and you want to come into regulation, at that point, imagine that you've got too much energy, right? You might feel like you're coming out of your skin. There's just too much. At that point with your breath, really you're going to focus on your exhale. So by making your exhale twice as long as your inhale, you're releasing some of that anxious energy and signaling to your nervous system, it's okay, we're safe, we can be here. On the other side, if your nervous system response is exhaustion, I just can't even focus, I can't be here, at that point, you probably need to bring more energy in. And so bringing more in means your focus is going to be on your inhale. So that could look like you have a nice long inhale and then a short exhale. This works beautifully if you channel your inner teenager and just like give a nice big sigh. It's very satisfying. Again, it's also increasing your energy and signaling safety to your system. Physical activity. Yes, being physical can absolutely support your rest and recovery. Rest doesn't have to mean lying in a bed. I mean, I do love a good like Sunday afternoon nap snuggle situation, but that's not necessary. Remember what we talked about earlier. There's chemical warfare that's happening in your system. You've had cortisol and adrenaline dumped in, and it's looking for a job to do. And so if we don't give it a job, it's going to make one up, and we won't like what happens with that. So whether you are walking, running, dancing, punching or throwing things, not people, or doing squats, allowing ourselves the physical outlet means that we can put those good chemicals to work and cycle out into the rest and relaxation. So you might not have the ability to do 100 squats when you are in the midst of a meeting with a whole bunch of executives, but you might be able to give yourself a break where you get to like do some things and move your body around shortly thereafter, and that can support you. And that's the thing, right? Like, how do we know which direction to go? Connection, breath, or physical activity, depending on the circumstances. Sometimes our location and our surroundings make the decision for us. But if you do something and you're like, I don't feel like that is fully taking care of my need, you can always backtrack to it later and say, okay, what else do I need? And actually, that's an important point of this. It's really, really helpful for you to pause and ask yourself, do I need connection or breath or physical activity right now? I know this sounds odd, but I swear to you, something will pop up really quickly to let you know exactly what you need to support your cycle and to close the spiral into a cycle. Okay, practical application. Odds are good that as we've been talking through this, you've thought of some stress spirals that probably need to complete. Okay. For these purposes, I'm going to suggest that you pick one that has you feeling that fight or flight energy, so being upregulated. But I am going to caution you, friends, this is where we learn and experience. Please don't pick the most traumatic moment in your life. We're not there yet. Focus on something that is activating to you, but that's safe enough for you to engage in. Thank you. Okay, you ready? In this exercise, we will use the breath pattern that we just learned that inhale to 3, exhale to 6, and some light visualization to help us complete a cycle. So again, the breathing is going to look like this, right? So inhale to 3, exhale to a count of 6. To be fair, the counting isn't really what's important here. It's the focus on exhaling longer than inhaling. So on the inhale, breathe fully, filling your lungs, and then slowly release the air until your lungs are empty. Side note, as we go through this, if you are a shallow breather, it's possible to get lightheaded since you aren't used to this much oxygen running through your system. It's okay though. If you get to a place where you start feeling a little lightheaded, you can release the breath pattern, return to your normal breathing until you feel steady, and then engage again. As your system gets more used to being oxygenated and you begin to breathe deeper, you'll probably find a pretty big overall change in your energy levels in general, which is kind of sweet. Okay, so I would love for you to just get comfortable, adjust as needed, sit back, even pull on a blankie if that's something that's comforting to you. I will suggest for this exercise that you close your eyes or lower your gaze, whatever feels safest for you. You might even want to try to place one hand over your heart space and then one hand on your belly. This helps with helping you feel supported as you go through the exercise. Okay, let's start the breathing. Start with a full inhale, slow exhale. Keep going with that breath pattern. And as you are breathing, consider a situation that's lingering where you feel maybe anxious or angry, where you feel the need to fight or to run. Go there in your mind and make it real for you. Notice what you see around you. Notice the sensations and the experience. Now pay attention to your body. Where in your body do you feel this experience? Note the sensation and continue to breathe. Notice that you're able to stay present with the sensation and keep breathing. You're doing good. Keep going. Now, in your mind, leave this space and go someplace safe, a place where you feel happy, supported, and loved. It can be a place that you've been before or a place that you make up in your mind right now. Make this place very real to you. Allow yourself to take in your surroundings. Note what you see, hear, smell, feel. Only love and support are here in this place. Keep breathing. Allow yourself to rest fully. Good. Now I want you to return to the place where you felt anxious. Just be present in the space. You don't need to do anything but be there and breathe. Note any change in the sensations in your body. Keep breathing. Notice the quality of your emotions now. Now return to your happy spot. Feel yourself embraced in comfort and safety. You belong here. Keep breathing. You are safe, supported, and loved. You can rest gently here and know this spot is available to you at any time. Keep breathing. Okay. Release the breath pattern and return to your normal breath. Keep your eyes closed for another moment. Maybe add in some gentle movement, like rolling your ankles and your wrists. Maybe stretching your neck and back. Okay, come on back. Consider what you noticed as you went back and forth for those two places. Generally, what people experience is that once they take a break from the difficult spot and scenario and go to their safe place, when they go back to that difficult emotion or difficult experience, the intensity of it decreases. In a very real way, you are educating your nervous system that you can be present with things that are difficult and still know that there is safety and that you are in fact safe. In some scenarios, what I've seen as that people do this and they come back into a regulated state for that situation, that their compassion also increases too. So they might have gone into this scenario with someone that they were really frustrated with or that they felt anxious or angry with. And at the end, coming back and forth and in completing that cycle, instead, they are able to look at it compassionately and say, hey, I don't think I understood where they were coming from, or maybe where they were from their emotion or stress spiral. situation that resulted in this case. I'd love to hear from you about what your personal experience was with this and what you learned. But I also want to call out that was truly, when we leaned into it and started breathing, 6 minutes. That was just 6 minutes of us titrating back and forth with what was the space that we had a reaction to, a soft, safe place, and back and back. 6 minutes of breathing. I hope that you felt the difference there. This is a really, really fantastic exercise that you can facilitate for yourself at any time that you need a quick break and a reset for your stress spiral, turn it into a cycle. In just these minutes, your body also got really, really oxygenated. You've given yourself signals of safety. You've done some rest and recovery. It really can be simple, and you can really do it anywhere, anytime. So I'm pretty sure a couple of years ago, if I had come into a session like this, I'd be like, sure, Juliet, that would just be great. I'll just fit that in into all the time that I don't have because I live triple booked. And I'm lucky if I even get to pee in between meetings, and there's nothing that can be done to fix that. And that would have been my stress spiral, speaking honestly. So I want you to consider just a couple of things to help set you up for success for leaning into being a stress cycle expert. The first of which is this: personal brand. I know that for me, my sense of worth was attached to my work brand, which was also very attached to always being available. And so I want you to know, from me to you, your worth has nothing to do with your job. You are precious and worthy, and you were the moment that you came into this world, and absolutely nothing can change that. Nothing. And your brand is screwed when you're the person that's so burned out that you lose function. And so if your brand is associated with constant availability forever and ever, amen, it might be an opportunity to consider another thing for you to be known for, which could be boundaries, which could be resilience, which could be you staying present and effective when everybody else loses it, because you can complete a stress cycle. The next thing is building in space for that rest. As one of my very favorite trainers used to say, prior preparation prevents poor performance. You can build in time into your schedule to stop and rest and allow our cycles to complete so that we can move forward with strength and energy and effectiveness. You could schedule time to walk, to breathe, to even hum, which can help. If the back-to-back life makes that seem inaccessible to you right now, which I can understand that, you still have the ability to control what you do during a break or lunch or your commute to and from work, or frankly, even how you breathe when you're peeing in the company bathroom. Experiment with finding spots in your day to actively rest, and maybe make it a game for yourself to figure out where you can grab those couple of minutes here and there. Truly, it can take less than 2 minutes for you to breathe or have physical activity or even get a hug from a pal that'll help you close that stress cycle. Okay, I know there's only 2 things on the slide, but I'm going to give you guys a bonus one, and that is this: be ruthless, not with yourself. Be ruthless with your dedication to yourself. Your improved performance and leadership and innovation and compassion will be noted. And you can't move forward and build in the same way that you broke down. You just can't. By completing the stress cycle and building your resilience, you're giving yourself the ability to be the leader that your people need and deserve. And find your joy while you're doing that. And that's what I want for you. Thank you so, so much for joining me today to talk about our Resilient Leader Reset. By gently and deliberately giving your stress cycle a point of completion, You are retaking back your energy and your focus and your favorite version of you. What's next? You might be asking. I have a special offer to assist you in making this transition because we're talking about building habits that set you up for the sustainable long term. I'm really excited to offer the 7-day Resilient Leader Reset Challenge. This digital offering starts on March 3rd and will give you regulation tools and guided practices to become an effective stress cycler. You can take it at your pace, but I'll be there to offer support and suggestions to help. And if you register this week, I'll give you $10 off the price. I want more regulated coaches and resilient leaders in our work environment, and I'm here to help. I also hope that as you registered, you signed up for my newsletter. I share tips and tricks and invites to experience that will help you grow your tolerance to the ick and your capacity for the yay. As you can probably tell by now, I am on a quest to help servant leaders have the joyful, resilient life that they deserve. And I'm so grateful to have you be part of this community. That's it, my friends. I'll hang out for a moment to answer any questions or chat. Again, thank you so much for being here with me today. I appreciate all that you do to support others. And please remember, be nice to you. Thank you.